Yo, what's up? It's Thune again, making another what the hell is wrong with Resto Shaman video. This one's gonna be kind of just like ranting about Resto Shaman and what I think they should change heading into like 10.0.7 or 10.1. A lot of it has to do with like the talent tree, because while we were like praising the talent tree in beta, it never got iterated on past last June or August or something. So I think the talent tree needs some updates. Also, sorry if there's it sounds like my building is shaking, because it is. They're running snowplows outside, but I have to do stuff later, so I'm just making this now. Anyway, so it is now 10.0.5, and if you missed it, they buffed Acid Rain by 120%. This is way too big. They could have done this by 60%, and it would probably be okay. Still good even. But yeah, 120% is way too big. I've already seen logs of Resto Shamans doing 55 to 60k DPS overall in a Mythic Plus dungeon. That's not okay from a healer. So yeah, it would be shocking if this ability was not tuned down in a week or two. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't get over nerfed at this point. But yeah, they definitely over buffed it. So we'll see. Also, wouldn't even shock me if they maybe tuned down Chain Lightning a bit, just because of how good, or maybe they just tuned down Call of Thunder. But this talent point is 35% for every single Chain Lightning that's just a big modifier. So I think that could maybe see some tuning as well. But yeah, overall Resto Shaman's damage is significantly improved now. So we'll see how much of a nerf it takes. But yeah, today I kind of wanted to talk about the talent tree and the issues that I have with it, and hopefully things I would like to see changed going into future patches. So I don't really have specifics on the class tree, except Tranquil Air Totem doesn't feel like it should be here. You never use this in PvE ever, and I see no reason why this can't just be a PvP talent. So that probably should get changed. Mana Spring Totem still doesn't my issue with it is it benefits Ellie and Enhance much more than it benefits Resto, because both of them can have resets on their Lava Burst or Storm Strike buttons, and Resto can't. And it was just the same mana between all three specs. It does an okay amount of mana now, and it's passive, so it's fine for one talent point, but I still don't really care for it. But yeah, I think the mana return should probably get buffed for Resto Shaman, maybe. But yeah, mostly just for the class tree in general, I think there are way too many previous buttons, Tremor Totem, for example, Purge. There are way too many buttons on here that if you're trying to play at least 2 capstones, which Resto Shaman currently does in Raid, then it is really, really hard to get any utility. It's even hard to get Interrupt, for example, and that doesn't feel good, because Resto Shamans have been this king of utility for such a long time, that not having any of that anymore feels really bad. So I think they should maybe look at either reducing the number of 2-point talents, that way you can actually select utility, or maybe taking some of these abilities that we used to have and putting them baseline or something like that. But yeah, it's feels pretty bad at the moment. You are locked to 30 out of 31 talent points as a Resto Shaman, I think, currently. Also, quick side note, there's no reason Windrush needs to be 40% move speed when Roar is on a minute cooldown and has 60% move speed and a higher radius. Windrush just needs to be 60% to make it good again. Anyway, that's most of the stuff I have with the class tree. I think is just there are way too many utility options that we can't take anymore, because we have to spend too many points on throughput. My main gripes are with the spec tree. So the number one thing I want to see changed is I want to see this row redone almost entirely. Downpour is the only button on this row that we take. in any setting at the moment. With the one caveat being, if you have improved primordial wave, it's because you're grabbing like continuous waves or tumbling waves. So you're never grabbing this on its own. You're grabbing it because you're getting this like capstone node. But other than that, you're not taking like any of these three buttons ever. I've seen some people grab Ever Rising Tide, but they don't actually like press the button. They just like had a spare talent point or something, so they were like, "Oh, I'll put it here. That sounds good," and then they just don't actually press it. But the button is like really bad for Shaman. It completely screws your mana, and it's only an 8 second window. Like we don't have like that's not how Shaman operates. You don't like do a bunch of healing in a small window like a Disc Priest or a Resto Druid or an Evoker. Like for those, maybe something like a Rising Tide would be okay, but that's not how Shaman operates. So this needs to be a new button entirely. And yeah, Nature's Focus and Improved Earth Living Weapon, they're just bad. I don't think you're going to fix these with tuning. Improved Earth Living, if this stays in the tree, it should not be a 2-point talent because it is awful for 2-point talent. But yeah, these three I would love to see changed. There's no reason you're selecting these ever. They're essentially dead. Same goes for Flash Flood. So I don't even mind Flash Flood being on the tree. I think it's probably decent in Myth or PvP. Sorry. My main issue with it is like it still doesn't reduce the GCD. I've been asking for them to update that since like BFA, and like 3 expansions later, it still doesn't do that. So the issue with Flash Flood is you consume tidal waves, so you have Flash Flood now, and then you want to like Healing Surge and Mythic Plus, for example. Flash Flood give you no value there because now you're just waiting on the GCD to finish. So this needs to reduce cast time and also reduce the GCD of your next cast, and then it's like fine, pickable. I don't know if I would pick it for a 2-point talent, but they clearly seem to want you to spend 2 talent points to get to Spirit Link Totem, because like same thing goes for Water Shield. Water Shield is entirely useless. You're only picking it because you have to get to Resurgence. So it effectively makes Resurgence a 2-point talent. I really wish that wasn't the case because currently Resto Shamans are spending 11 points in this top part of the tree, whereas every other class spends like 10. So you're just losing a talent point up here just because they want you to spend 2 points to get to Spirit Link Totem. So yeah, I wish Resurgence was just baked into Water Shield, and then you could just like straight path down the Spirit Link. That would be wonderful. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out, I guess. And then like my last gripe with the tree, well, the one like thing I'd like to see updated on the tree is Torrent for 2 talent points is really bad. It's currently worth like less than 1% HPS per point, which, as I'm sure a lot of people know, that's not very good talent point allocations. A lot of people are taking it to get to Earthen Wall, but even if you don't press Mana Spring or Mana Tide Totem, it's just better to take Mana Tide because like the throughput on Torrent is like so bad for 2 talent points. Even if it was changed to 1 talent point, I don't even know if I would like always take it, but yeah, Torrent needs to be buffed. I've been saying it for like a long time, but like buffing only half of Riptide is kind of weird. I almost wish this would just be like a smaller buff to Riptide, but like make it buff both the hot and the initial heal or something, or just put it back to like 40%. That way it's like a true spot heal. But yeah, Torrent needs changed or buffed in some way. I think every other talent point is like mostly okay. Flow of the Tides is like people have said they've liked this in keys. That's okay. I mean, I'm not gonna ever take this over Ancestral Reach. Ancestral Reach is just better. But I think most of the other talent points are like okay. My last big thing that I would like to see change for Resto Shaman is like their cooldowns. For like since Legion, really, Resto Shaman's cooldowns have been like among the worst in the game. And people are going to be like, but you have Spirit Link Totem. Spirit Link is like I can't like tell you just how niche this ability is. A 10% DR So that's less than Aura Mastery. That's less than Barrier. So it's already weaker than those, and you have to stack for it. And you don't even get the 10% DR if the Spirit Link Totem is not dropped on top of you. It's still bugged to this day. So if you walk into Spirit Link Totem, more than likely you're not getting the DR from it. You're just getting the redistribution. So Spirit Link Totem is just incredibly niche. If they don't change anything about one of our cooldowns, I would say it's Spirit Link Totem, but it's still just, it's not great. It's hard to use. Healing Tide Totem is probably the worst 3-minute cooldown in the game, and I'm fully aware that like you can heal during your Healing Tide Totem, but that same argument goes for Rewind. Rewind is an instant cast. You can immediately heal afterwards, and Rewind just did like over 2 million healing. Healing Tide Totem is very lucky to get over 1 million healing per cast, and it's a 3-minute cooldown. And there's no nodes that you can like pick up that like increase Healing Tide Totem like at all. So it's a really bad cooldown. It needs to be buffed or changed, or something about it. Like if there was a talent point that like Healing Tide Totem has 2 charges, or like reduces the cooldown. I think that's a PvP talent actually. Yeah, cooldown is reduced by 1.5 minute, and it heals for 100% more each time it pulses. Why can that not be like on the tree somewhere? Like that would be fantastic to have something like that on the talent tree, but it's just locked to a PvP talent for some reason. Maybe swap like Living Tide with like Tranquil Air Totem in the PvP talents or something. But like, there's no option to make Healing Tide Totem better, and like you have never assigned healing cooldowns on a fight and been like, oh, we have Healing Tide here, we're perfectly fine. But like every other healing cooldown in the game that you assign, except for maybe like Paladin Wings, is like, oh, we have a healing cooldown here, so we're okay. So yeah, I wouldn't see Healing Tide Totem get buffed. Mana Tide Totem could probably use like doubled. It only restores like 6k mana or something, but I don't really care about that button. And Ascendance. This is like probably the one I want to see changed the most, because I think it would be a really cool capstone. Because if you look at like Elemental, so Elemental has like a bunch of different ways to modify their Ascendance. I'm not sure about Enhance. I haven't played Enhance much at all, but I'm sure they probably also have cool ways to like modify their Ascendance. But Ascendance is like really weak for a 3-minute cooldown and worth 3 talent points, because you normally do not want to spend 2 points here in Earthen Harmony in like a raid setting. And yeah, again, Ascendance is doing like less than 1 million, or like right about 1 million healing per use, which is like way less than like I think like a disc ramp, for example, every 1.5 minutes can do like upwards of 4 million. Rewind does like 2.5 million depending on like when you use it. Dream Flight does like 1.5 million depending on when you use it, which is a 2-minute cooldown. Ancestral Guidance is better than Ascendance and Healing Tide Totem, and it's a 2-minute cooldown. But don't nerf Ancestral Guidance though, please. But yeah, it's just like, it's like these buttons haven't been looked at in like years now, and they've just been behind for such a long time. A lot of people like Ascendance because it's like an oh shit button, which is like fine in keys, but this just needs to be better. And I think like the overall throughput of Resto Shaman is honestly fine. It's better than what I was expecting it to be, but like their main issue is like their cooldowns suck. And if their cooldowns were better, I think you'd see like a lot more play out of Resto Shaman again. And one way that they could do that, so they wouldn't even necessarily have to buff Ascendance by that much if it fed Cloudburst Totem again, because then you can create a cooldown out of it. Same thing goes for Ancestral Guidance. If this thing fed Cloudburst again, that is now an actual cooldown again, which is really cool, and like makes you actually play better, which is increasing the skill cap slightly, which is always cool and wow. But yeah, like we have deeply rooted elements here and Ascendance on different nodes. I see no reason, if they want to keep deeply rooted elements on the talent tree, like why can these not go together, for example? Like I want to see some sort of alteration to Ascendance to make it like a better cooldown. For Ellie, it makes your Lava Burst have no CD. Why can't it do something like that for Resto? I think Enhanced does the same thing, where it's like Storm Strike has a reduced cooldown or something. Um, and yeah, I see no reason why Ascendance can't just be like a better 3-minute cooldown for Resto Shaman. And yeah, I did forget to talk about deeply rooted elements, but like I do have a big issue with it. It's way too RNG. 7%, it's like true RNG. It's not like RPPM like most procs in this game. So you can quite literally go like a 10-minute fight without procking deeply rooted elements at all, or you can go a 3-minute fight and have like 6 procs. It's just like a flat 7% chance per Riptide cast. And it doesn't even work with things like Primal Tidal Core or Primordial Wave Riptides. It's only your own casted Riptides. So I would like to see that go in like the deck system, or just, maybe like in addition to Ascendance, you can like, oh, you can now also just proc Ascendance or something like, but being on 2 different talent points feels weird. But I wish this would go back to like the Legion legendary, where it was just on a deck system. And if for those that don't really know what that was, essentially you would have like 20 cards in this deck, and you would expect 4 procs for the 20 casts that you did. So this used to work on like Healing Rain. So every 20 casts of Healing Rain, you would expect 4 procs of deeply rooted elements, which is like more predictable. If you like, you could even have like a week or something that helped track it, but you had like a set number of like, okay, this is what is expected out of the cooldown. But there's nothing like that for the current version. It's just a flat RNG, which doesn't feel very good in any content really. But yeah, sorry, this was like kind of like a rambly video. I only like briefly mentioned it, but I do hope they kind of somehow like limit the ability of like all of these modifiers and stuff that you have to do, because it feels pretty clunky gameplay wise. But yeah, more than anything, I just kind of want them to like look at the 3-minute cooldowns of the spec, and make them better, either by like altering them, buffing them, or preferably I would like to see them work with Cloudburst Totem again, because that was so much fun to play with. And if they feel like the like buffing Healing Tide Totem, for example, would be like too much throughput wise, like I wouldn't even mind taking like a throughput hit. Like if they nerfed the overall spec but buff the cooldowns, I think that is a better direction to go than just to have what we have currently, where your cooldowns don't really matter at all in the game. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about today. Sorry for rambling so long. I will hopefully not have to make another one of these. Hopefully they start adjusting Shaman a little bit more. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.